Glad you made it back, everybody. Reports keep coming out about big tech collusion with the federal government. New developments from the Twitter files claim that that social media company had meetings with the FBI. The meetings were about a range of topics, the Hunter Biden laptop story being one of them. They were also reportedly talking about partnerships discussed with Twitter, the FBI, and the DHS about misinformation. By the way, misinformation means anybody who opposes Democrats. The files also revealed a secret portal that government employees could access on Twitter to suppress Americans' protected speech under the Constitution. For more on this, let's bring in the president of Convention of States, Mark Meckler. Mark, Merry Christmas. Glad to have you back, my friend. In my mind, this is the clearest indication yet that this government has grown beyond the consent of the governed. Fair?
Very fair. What we have is really radically tight collusion between the federal government and the big tech oligarchs, and they're doing it to suppress a particular political point of view.
No kidding. You know, and Mark, bureaucracy in government is being weaponized against our people. A new report claims leftist Senator Sheldon Whitehouse asked the Internal Revenue Service to target his conservative opponents. This is very similar to what Lois Lerner did under the orders of the Obama regime. I think the founders could foresee this abuse. It's why they didn't include an income tax in the Constitution. They thought it absurd to actually punish Americans when they do a good thing, you know, earn money, and they feared the politicizing of the tax system. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, look, and this feels very familiar to me as somebody who was leading the largest Tea Party organization in the nation at the time. I know you were a big part of that movement. A lot of our friends were targeted by the IRS during that time. It was a full weaponization of the state against their political opponents. We were told that that had been cleaned up. It hasn't been cleaned up. I've been saying this for years, and now we see Senator Whitehouse doing the same thing. And I expect that's what they intend to do with 87,000 additional IRS agents if they get them.
My goodness, it's frightful to see the government arrayed against the people it's supposed to protect. Mark, where are we in the Convention of States? And I have a two-part question here. First off, just give the folks where we are in this, in the outlook, how many states are on board, and then I'll ask you a follow-up question.
Sure. So it takes 34 states to call a convention. The purpose is to take power away from the federal government, to prevent them from having the authority to do this kind of stuff, and to give it back to the states. So it takes 34. So far, 19 have called. I would say we've got a good solid 10 in the docks for next legislative cycle. I expect we'll pick off 6 or 7 of those. That'll take us within single digits of calling the first ever convention of states in the United States of America.
Now, folks, history shows that we came 2 states shy just before Reagan took over back in the early 1980s. And then the wind was out of the sails of the movement back then. And because of all the abuse of this government, we cannot allow the wind of the sails to come out of this one. So when a convention is called, and I'm going to go ahead and be optimistic, when the states reassert their authority over the federal government, because it was the states that created the federal government, not the other way around. Right. When that happens, Mark, what will be the top issue a convention will address? Because they're only going to address one at a time. What's the number one issue in your mind?
Yeah, I would say the number one issue, we have 3 subject matter areas, but to me, the number one is limitations on what are called the scope, power, and jurisdiction of the federal government. The Constitution originally gave the federal government limited powers. They were called enumerated powers. There were 17 of them. Because of court expansion of those powers, there are now 17,000. I don't know how many of them, but that would allow us to do things like, say, no more Department of Education or Energy, no more federal involvement in healthcare, no more EPA. These are things that are always intended to be powers left to the people and the states, and they need to be taken away from Washington, D.C. permanently.
Yeah, okay, and as far as a constitutional amendment is concerned, what's your favorite constitutional amendment?
I don't know if we get this one, Chris, but here's my personal favorite. I think we need to do away with the 17th Amendment. The 17th Amendment provided for the direct election of United States senators. Originally, those senators were appointed by the state legislatures, and that gave the states a lot of power in Washington, D.C. You mentioned previously that we've lost our power in Washington, D.C., and we need to bring it back to the states. This is the way you do it, is you allow the legislatures to appoint the senators, and then the senators say no to the infringement on state power.
Folks, I'll give you an example. Tom Tillis in North Carolina and John Cornyn in Texas. They are not dedicated to their states. They're dedicated to their political parties and to Mitch McConnell. That's who they are dedicated to. When the states could nominate senators, those senators must remain loyal to their states and their states' best interests. Now that they're elected by popular vote, which was a bastardization of what the founding fathers wanted, now those senators feel free to deliver for their political party and ignore their states, which is what John Cornyn did with the Second Amendment, cave to the Democrats, and what Mr. Tillis is doing with the illegal immigration cave to the Democrats. Mr. Meckler, great discussion as always. Keep us posted on Convention of States.